Hi, this is Mr. Cordes, and today, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go over and review the vocabulary for our next short story entitled The Most Dangerous Game. We are also going to go over and review some basic reading strategies that we covered in the very beginning of the school year. As we progress in our stories, I want to make sure that we are using those reading strategies as best as possible. So those are our two items for us in this video. One will be the vocabulary, and then two will be taking notes on reading strategies. So everything will be explained in the video. You will need to pause and kind of go back and forth between the video and your notes to make sure that you have all the necessary information. Let's start with the vocabulary. You have the vocabulary document in front of you. This is the same thing that you've done for previous stories. What we are going to do, ladies and gentlemen, as I give you the word, what I'd like you to do is to mark the word down into this very first column. For our story, The Most Dangerous Game, you actually will need additional rows to add in words. So what that looks like is as you go in here, what you can do is just like highlight the row. And if you right click, there's an option to insert row above or insert row below. And you can do that to add in the words. So you will fill up this first page and then add additional rows to get to that second page as well. Okay. So you have this document up in front of you. I'm going to go over here and begin to type on just a blank document so that you can see things well. And again, if you would for me, please take the time to pause, go back, fill it in, make sure that things are done, and then I'll move us on to the next task. Okay. Our very first word, get here, is tangible. Is tangible. Some people learn math by using tangibles. Okay, tangibles. That's our very first word. Our second word is condone. I do not condone such behavior in my classroom. That's one of the words. Our next word is stamina. Stamina. To be a cross-country runner, you must have a lot of stamina and endurance. The next word is quarry. Not, hey, do you know Corey from my math class, but quarry as in a hunting or gathering type term. Okay, I must go out to get my quarry for the day. Our next word is droll. Sometimes you think that these videos are extremely droll. Deplorable. Deplorable. Please take some time, ladies and gentlemen, to pause, go back and add those words in to your list. Our next word is disarming. Disarming. Our next word is scruple. Scruple. That is not a made-up word. That's not a Dr. Seuss word. That's the actual word scruple. Next word is imperative. It is imperative that you pay attention during the lectures and turn in your work by the deadline. Imperative. Our next word is amenity. Amenity. And the word after that is elude. Elude. The next word is zealous. Not jealous, but zealous with a Z. Sometimes a caller can be overzealous at a birthday party. Affable is our next word. Affable. Solicitously. Solicitously. And our last word is uncanny. uncanny. Now, you will notice we have 15 words, okay? Over here on our vocabulary page, you'll need to add 5 more rows if you haven't done so already. So all you simply do is have to highlight a row, right-click, and go to Insert Above or Insert Below, and that will give you, do that 5 times, and you'll have additional spaces for all of your words, okay? So you have made sure that all of your words are in this first column. The second column is for you to identify what your familiarity with the word itself. So if you know the word, like you know the word condone, you've used it before in a sentence, it's super familiar, it's in your daily vocabulary already, you would put a star. Okay, you can either put a symbol or you can write the word star, whichever you want. If you've heard the word condone, but you're not exactly sure, but it sounds somewhat familiar, you can go ahead and just put a check mark or write the word check mark in there. That's kind of like, I somewhat know it, but I'm not 100% sure. And then if you've never heard of the word condone before, you would put a minus. So let's take a moment and go through this next column, identifying those words as either a star, check, or minus. They shouldn't all be minuses. Some of these words are review for you. So please identify whether that's a star, a check mark, or a minus. Now that you have done an identifying mark, for any star or check mark word, what I'd like you to do is to put down what you think the word means. Okay, you're going to mark that in there. You're going to kind of identify, I think the word condone means, and you just type out your thoughts. Okay, it does not have to be perfect, does not have to be correct. We're generating, this is what I think the word means already. So you're going to write that down in this spot here. Okay. As we read through our story, when you are introduced to those words, you will put down the dictionary definition that's provided for you, as well as the sentence in which it's written. So these rows will shift because you will add things in there. Take a moment. You've filled in what I think the word means. Okay. Save this document to your drive so that you have it. And let's pull up a blank Google Doc at this point. Okay. So at this point, ladies and gentlemen, you can go over here to just a new tab, click on the new tab, and here we go. If you go over to Google Docs and you just click on blank, we're going to work with our reading strategies. Okay, so you can title it Reading Strategies. We're going to be quizzed over these components later. So take some time as I go through them in the video to stop and pause, write down, type down, copy down the definitions of these terms and begin to study them for our next class session. Okay, so I'm going to go over here to this one. This right here, ladies and gentlemen, are our reading strategies. So there's 6 of them all together that we need to be familiar with. Okay, the very first one that we have is predict. Predict is trying to figure out what will happen next and how the selection might end. You read on to see if you were accurate in your guesses. So predicting is kind of like thinking of what will happen next. We usually do this when we watch movies as far as, oh, this is going to happen or this is going to come into play, and you kind of make that educated guess. The next item that you have is visual. Visual is where you picture the characters, events, or settings to help you understand what's happening. Sometimes students will draw out what they believe the characters to look like. This is one of the things we've done in our character charts. I've asked you to mark draw a picture or an image to help you visualize what's going on. Okay, so visualize. We have predict. We have visualize. Our next one is to connect. Connecting is where you make personal connections to what you're reading. So you think about the similarities of the character's life or the situation, and you apply it to what you've learned, what you've read about, what you are familiar with. Okay, so that's where you begin to connect with your story. Okay. Your next one is question. Question what happens when you read. You're searching for reasons behind events or characters. So you begin to ask questions. Why did my character do this? What will happen if this occurs? Why did this go the way it did? It could have gone this other way. Like you begin to kind of process and question, not to find fault or to play devil's advocate, but to question as far as to further your understanding. So we have 4 already. We've got predict. Predict is where you think of what might happen next. You have visualize, where you picture the characters, you get an image in your head. Connecting to your real life. So if you have the same emotional capacity as your characters, you've been in the same circumstances or same situations. There's question what will happen next. You search for those answers. Here are the last 2. Clarify, which means you stop occasionally to review what you understand and kind of keep track of your understanding. Sometimes when I read through a text and I'm not 100% sure I understand what's going on, I will reread the page I was just on or write a little summary. I either use a sticky note or an index card and I'll write down what happened on that page. If it's my own personal book, I'll actually write it in the book itself, just to offer clarity. Okay, this is what happened and this is what's going on. So I kind of just begin to jot down the notes so it's a quick reference guide. The last thing that you have is evaluate. Evaluate is where you form opinions about what you've read. You begin to say, oh yes, this was a good idea. This was bad. This was a wise decision. This was not. You develop your own ideas about the characters and the events when that happens. So you come to the conclusion based upon what you know from the past and what you have read. Okay. So at this point, ladies and gentlemen, you now have all the reading strategies. We have predict. Let me get it back here. I'll review real quick. Predict. You have, let's see, what was the next one? Visualize. You have connect. You have question. You have clarify. And then you have evaluate. Those are the 6 that you will need to know for the quiz that's coming up. You'll need to know what those definitions are. I would suggest maybe making flashcards or reviewing. Actually, as you begin to read through your story, kind of begin to think, where have I done this before and what does that look like? So when we read through our previous short stories, where did I do my prediction? How did I connect with my characters? Where did I stop for clarification to figure out, wait a second, I'm not sure what happened. Okay. So those are the components, ladies and gentlemen. You've got your vocabulary. You also have your reading strategies. Please make sure that you have all of those items and that they're set and ready before you turn them in and before you take your quizzes. Message me or email me if you have any questions or concerns, and I'll talk to you later.